No, that wasn't what. Oh shit! No, I don't want to do that. Oh man, what am I doing? Stop recording. Okay. Stop streaming. Forget that. Forget it. Forget it. Right, probably everyone. Oh, stop it. There we go. Now we've started streaming. Hopefully that will come up. With any luck. Yay. Whoa, 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 whoa. Cool. Got an excellent stream.
Do I need this Discord open? I don't, do I?
No, mate, no.
Okay.
No, that's just a reference thing.
Cool.
Yeah, anyway, dude, hopefully, I just hang on and just hopefully this will become live. And with any luck, it will just start doing whatever it's doing. We'll see in a minute. Live. Hasn't popped up yet. There's always a long delay, isn't there?
What is?
There's always a delay before it starts popping up on a stream.
Oh, is it?
Well, I'm not showing anything yet. Get what? Apparently there's 4 people viewing. So something's happening. Can anyone tell me in the chat? If I can even... Oh... We got anything going on? I haven't even got the chat open, dude.
You haven't got it open?
No.
Right.
It's not even... Is it showing your end that it's live?
I'm not looking, to be fair, mate. I'm just chilling.
Dude, come on.
Wait, the what pod? Yeah, it's on.
Hey, hopefully. How do I get the chat up?
Emo's here.
Emo. That's cool. Right, I've got to try and work out where focus on.
Emo's saying 55-second delay.
Yeah, I'm sure. Mad. Let me have a look at a scenes chat. Here we go. I can get that up now. Hey. Cool. Chemo, why aren't you on, dude? You live. Yes, we are, dude. He should be joining us. Why is he not joining us? Yeah, come on, dude. Right, can you hear? Sound is a bit echoey. Camel's sound is a bit echoey. So let me turn it down a little bit. Hopefully, right, dude, hopefully Chemo will join us as well. I know Jeff is going to join us at about 8. I'm like 20 minutes from joining, so Chemo's going to come on a walk. That's brilliant. Anyway, dude, how are you? Because I haven't spoken to you for ages.
Who, me?
Yeah, you. Well, there's no one else here, unless they're... Oh, Max
here, has he?
Mac
yeah,
B.
I'm good, thank you, brother. I'm good.
Excellent. What have you been up to? Working hard, by the looks of it.
Yeah, working hard. And spent this evening with the family, which was nice. Been out to dinner a few times this week. Yeah, just chilling, really.
Cool. How's Doggy?
Doggy is all good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I say hello to Mac B, whoever Mac B is? Hello, Mac
Yep.
B. Are you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can. That's McDonald Bullion, isn't it?
Hello, it is. How are you?
Yay, Josh. Can I call you Josh?
Yeah, of course, yeah. How are you
wicked.
doing?
Josh, meet Camel. Camel, meet Josh.
Camel, good to meet you.
Hello, brother.
Ah, that's nice that you joined. Brilliant. Thank you very much.
No, that's all right. I'll only pop in for about 30 minutes or so. I wanted to try and come in last week, but unfortunately I couldn't get it working.
Yeah, don't worry, because I didn't do it last week, so it was fine.
Oh,
I,
it would have been the week before then, yeah.
yeah, yeah, no, it's no problem, mate. It's open to anyone to come on, obviously, just to have a chat, just to do whatever, and talk about whatever on these particular ones. So it's really cool that you've come on. Thank you very much.
No, that's all right. Thanks for putting it out. I'm just happy to come on. So, yeah.
Cool. What do you think of the barmaid?
That was, how do you, is that a green screen or?
It's, I don't know, mate. On Zoom, it allows you to download your own background.
Right, yeah.
So, in my terrible, infinite old age wisdom, I bang in pub scenes on this site that I use. Um, and it's not a dodgy site before Camel says it's a dodgy site. And it just comes up with bar scenes, and obviously this is AI generated, which is what everything seems to be nowadays. And yeah, it's sometimes it's dwarfs, some no, not dwarfs, they're wizards, anything bar type thing, you know. So yeah, that's what I use. So it's not like a green screen; it's just a wallpaper type thing you can add.
Right, yeah, because I've not used Zoom in years. There was I want to say during COVID, everyone was using it, weren't they? I imagine it's probably come
Yeah,
a little bit better since then anyway, but
more than likely. Now, Sai is saying hello in the chat and says like my I have a strange sound effect. If you're like in a small bathroom or stuck in a tube. No, I'm not stuck in a bathroom. I don't know what it is, Sai. Whenever I'm putting output through a outside thing through OBS, there always seems to be a bit of an echo, and I can hear that echo. Funny enough, I don't know whether it's a bit of back feed or what. I don't know, or I'm too close. Maybe I'm too close to the microphone. I'll come away a little bit and see if that's you fixed it. Oh, that's cool. I've turned the volume down, so as long as you can hear Camel and McDonald Bullion, okay, that'd be cool. But thanks for popping in, dude. You should come on. Come and have a chat. So, Camel, Mac, Donald Bullion, what you been up to? What you been up to, Mac? Anything?
oh, not a lot. Not a lot. I've been quite boring. Um this past week I've done a couple of videos. I released a couple of videos. I got a little bit more gold. Um Apart from that, I haven't done a whole lot. Um I picked up a few sovereigns today. Um a few gold bars as well that I've been vaulting for a bit of time. I collected them because I'm hoping to release a video on them.
Okay.
And then I'll revolt them. Um, but apart from that's me. Yeah, nothing interesting, unfortunately.
Well, that sounds boring, but interesting. What about you,
Yeah.
Camel? Have you done anything outside your busy world of YouTube and trading and bits and pieces?
But funny enough, I bought a fishing rod at the dump earlier on today. Um, and that was really abnormal for me. So
Whoa, 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 whoa! Hold on a minute. You bought a fishing rod at a dump.
yeah, I did exactly that. Yeah, yeah. I'm as surprised as you are, mate. But
Okay.
so so we went to my mum's house and we're taking a bunch of stuff down the tip because we were turning a shed, an outbuilding thing,
Yeah.
into a utility room. So we were clearing out all this stuff, taking it down the dump. So me and my brothers were loading up my brother's truck and taking all this old furniture down there and whatever. And then my youngest brother was saying, "Oh, let's go," because they've got this shop where I say a shop, they anything that's not completely fallen apart, they kind of grab hold of and then sell for pennies, right?
Okay.
Um, and so my youngest brother's like, "Yeah, let's go in there. Let's see." Me and my other brother are like, "No, why? Like, no one cares. It's all just rubbish or whatever." Anyway, so he drags us in there, and sure enough, we find this fishing rod. Um, And you know that saying, they don't make them like they used to, right?
Yep.
This is absolutely true. Of these, when me and my other brother, so my youngest brother doesn't really like fishing, but me and the younger brother below that have always fished. And when we were about 10 or 11 years old, so many, many, many years ago, we went to a local tackle shop and we bought these match fishing rods, right, for course fishing. And it's really true. They don't make them like they used to. I've still got, at the time, we bought two each, and they were something like 25 quid all the way back then with a reel as well. And we've had plenty of rods over the years, and nothing has ever come close to these things. These things were built to perfection. I've still got one of mine. And I can't really describe it apart from just it bends in the perfect way. It's got the perfect sensitivity in the tip. Like everything about it is perfect, right, for this rod. And it wasn't a top spec rod either. It was just made the right way. And me and my brother for years have been talking about how you can't get this kind of rod anymore. You can spend 25 or 125 or even more money on the rod, but it's just something about it just isn't quite as good as these old Mitchell ones we got, right? And anyway, we go to the tip earlier on, and my brother drags me in there, and then sure enough, they've got one of these rods right there in mint condition, right? And I was like, I can't believe my eyes. So I asked how much they wanted for it. And she was like, yeah, give me a fiver. And I was like, done deal. So yeah, I ended up buying for a 5 quid. I ended up buying this old school fishing rod. And it was in mint condition as well. So
Oh,
yeah, that's what
wicked.
I did that was outside the box today. And I would never normally be the kind of person that wants to shop at the local dump. But but today it worked out for me.
100%. I didn't even know you could shop at a dump.
No,
I
I didn't
mean,
either.
I don't know if it's just ours that does it. I mean, maybe it is, but yeah, it's just like like if you were going to go and chuck stuff away and something's intact, they have people that kind of stand there and snag them. Like there was loads of surfboards there, which I guess people were just going to chuck in the skip. But
Yep.
then they have these people that kind of go, "Oh, is that intact? We'll have that." And then they just sell them for like 2 quid in this little shop. It has all kinds of weird and wonderful stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, but I got this sweet fishing rod for a fiver. So yeah, that's my outside the box thing for today.
Oh, wicked. So have you got, Josh, have you got an outside the box thing at all today?
Oh, I wish I did. I've been busy doing boring house chore things really today. Mine's not as interesting
Down the
as
dump.
camels, but yeah, going to a dump and buying a rod,
Fishing rod.
which yeah, fishing's expensive. I mean, I don't fish. I don't really know anything about it, but I knew a couple of people that would go and they were very into it. And I
Yep.
remember them saying how much they would spend just overhearing. And it's, for 5 quid, I assume it's a pretty good deal, Camel, for a fishing rod anyway, but I have no clue.
Yeah, it was. It was the crazy thing about it is, like I said, years and years and years ago when we were like 10, 11 years old, we bought these old Mitchell rods. And there was something about those that we were never able to get close to them, whether we spent more money or less money or more modern technology, we could just never get close to the feel of them. And we spent quite a long time every now and then we'd come back and try and find one that had the same kind of feel to it. And nothing, it's just really true. They don't make them like they used to, weirdly enough, because the technology must have evolved massively since then. But yeah, so to find one of those, and yeah, like there's just something about the way that the rod bends and you can feel everything through the tip. There's just something about that that was completely missing. Like me and I'm not one for spending a lot of money on fishing equipment because I'm the sort of person that will drop it and step on it. So I prefer to buy the cheap stuff because I know I'm going to break it. Whereas my brother will buy all of the top spec stuff and then keep it all really nice and, wrap it back up at the end of every session and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, for some reason, these 25 quid rods that we bought decades ago have nothing's ever come close to them, even when we spent hundreds and hundreds of pounds. So yeah, to find another one of those in mint condition was just like, I couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it.
Wow.
I
Yeah, because I suppose it's quite good they're kind of up. Is it? Well, I mean, they're recycling, aren't they? They're making a bit of money, but it's just going to go in the tip otherwise. So it's probably they probably come across all sorts of weird stuff. But I mean, if it's intact, then why not?
Well, they also had a whole heap of sea fishing rods, but the sea fishing rods were like unusable. They all had the tips smashed off of them, and all the eyes were missing, and all this kind of thing. Because my brother was looking through the sea fishing ones, and yeah, they were all just completely useless. I guess the people that thought they would be able to sell didn't actually fish themselves because they were just, like I say, completely useless. But I just so happened to find one that was perfect, so I was well happy with that.
Wicked.
Wow.
I remember. Were they? What sort of rods were they? Were they like match rods or carp fishing
Well,
rods? Or
the one I bought,
yeah.
the one I bought was a 14-foot match rod with a
Okay.
quiver tip.
All right. Okay. Wicked. Because I haven't been fishing for years and years. It was a big passion of mine when I was younger, and it's interesting listening to the word Mitchell. I've still got, and they were really sought after at that time. Mitchell 810 carp reels. I don't know if that rings a bell with you guys. Probably not. I'm probably a lot
No,
older
to
than
be
you
honest,
guys.
no, it doesn't.
Yeah, Mitchell. They used to do a Mitchell match, and it was really sort of Mitchell was the in thing, and then it become is it Shimano? Is that a real make?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, Shimano took over. Technology changed, but I remember getting these Mitchell 810s for carp fishing, and they were lovely. They were beautiful feel, and the mechanisms worked really nicely, and yeah, it was amazing, absolutely amazing. So yeah, that brought back memories, and I've still got them, still hanging up in one of my sheds. It's just another one of those things that you never sort of want to get rid of, really, because it's your boyhood stuff.
There's something about them, man, because that Mitchell rod I've used every year for decades,
Yeah,
and it's landed loads of fish. It's had loads of sessions, and it still works perfectly.
yeah,
I've never smashed the eyes off of it. The eyes are all perfect. All the ringlets inside the eyes are perfect. It hasn't bowed or decayed or any of that. And it's
excuse
the
me.
only rod I've ever had that I can say that about because all of my other rods have got a life expectancy of about 2 or 3 years. And that's granted because I don't spend a lot of money on them. My brother, as I said, he spends a lot of money on his, and his last a bit longer than that. But I'm just too clumsy with mine. But yeah, that's what makes them the outlier for me. Is it, over, I don't know, 25, 30 years, something like that later, and it's still it still works just fine. It's crazy.
Absolutely.
And like, yeah, I mean, and yeah, it's just crazy to me.
Yeah, they don't make them like they used to, which is really cool. Camel, there's really someone called Down in Drones. No, Drowning in Jones. Oh, Drowning in Drones. They put, is I bought a fishing rod at the dump, code for the top is in. That's got to be one of your followers, surely.
Everyone's trying to call tops here. It's too
Yeah, I'm
early.
sure.
Too early. We got to take our time. Got
I'm
to take our
sure.
time. Be sure about it.
I'm sure. I'm sure. I'm sure. Um, so yeah, Mac B, Josh, he's been doing some interesting work that I've been following lately. Going around, and I'm sort of almost calling him a journalist, and he seems to be putting together some really great videos, interviewing bullion dealers around the country. It's been really interesting to follow. Camel, sorry, just so you know a little bit about what he's doing. Camel.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. It's something that is quite interesting to do because you get a load of different perspectives on things.
Yeah, I'm
I
sure.
I do have a couple of things sort of in the pipeline, and I'm hoping I can kind of branch off and hopefully do these types of videos with US bullion dealers as well.
Oh, really?
So there might be something coming. It's still early days with it, but that's what I'm. It's kind of in the pipeline.
Yeah. Can I ask a little bit on topic question for you? You've been around a few dealers now, haven't you? Have they got roughly the same viewpoint? Are they very positive because obviously we all know they're selling a product, so they're not going to be negative about it? Or do you pick up a little bit of caution during your interviews, or is it all pure positivity, positivity, positivity? It'd be interesting to Get your outlook on that.
Yeah, so I think usually what I tend to do is I usually have a chat with people first. Um, I mean, given Cardiff Gold, I think Dan was the very first one that I did, and we had chats before then anyway. Um, I think to answer your question, they people are generally quite positive. They're very transparent and they're very honest. Um, the thing that I like as well is if there's if there's like if I say to them, I've got, for example, this amount of money and I want to do something with this, how would I best be suited for that? Um, if I'm looking to try and, because I do gold and silver bullion, how would I best preserve my wealth for the best value money or something like that? So I appreciate the transparency and honesty that I get, and from interviewing the dealers and things that I've done already, I haven't had anything to make me skeptical or
Yeah,
any dishonesty or anything like that. They're actually, of course, you've got businesses and things like that. People run businesses, their livelihood, but
sure.
I've not come across anything to make me think, uh, you know, maybe
Yeah,
something's not right.
yeah. That's
Very
cool.
genuine, quite honest people, which is nice.
That is cool. That is cool. And I know you was in London down at Tavik's for that opening a little
Yeah.
while ago. And I know you've done a few things. Obviously, you've been to Cardiff, you've been to Cheltenham recently. Um, is there any particular? Do you see any boundaries between like what's been said in London to coming out away from London, or is it all consistent type thing?
Um, I think it's all. I mean, um, it's all quite consistent, I would say. I think the main thing from it that I get is everyone's perspectives are going to be slightly different because everyone's different. Everyone's reasons for buying precious metals, even though it's the main thing is to preserve wealth and everything. I think over time things change. Um, so it's very hard. There's not a one shoe fits all policy with everyone. I think everyone you've got to kind of tailor, um, their needs and things like that. So I think from speaking with them, from going to all the different places, um, they've always tailored a good response, I think, for their customers. Um, when I pose the question, I try and I try not to pose like difficult questions and things because I want them to be easy to understand for viewers and things like that. But it's nice to get some transparency and things because even though if you think that you're thinking one way if you're going to be stacking silver bullion or something for weights, perhaps your view might change later on down the line. So I think covering all bases from different perspectives is really beneficial for people, and that's really what I'm trying to do.
Sure.
Um, just because I enjoy doing it. So
That's cool. We are definitely enjoying your journey. Well, I am personally,
oh, good, thank you.
100%. What do you reckon, Camel? He's gone to sleep. No, he hasn't.
Yeah, tapped out.
Camel's into his gold, aren't you, dude?
I am into my gold, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And it's really interesting. I've had I'm hoping to do a one-on-one with Josh at some point when we can sort out some time. And he's quite often said that he hasn't done a lot of research on crypto, Bitcoin, and it'd be a great opportunity at some point just to sit down and just chew the chat over what I think about Bitcoin and maybe just having a bit of a conversation. But You've got a very big Bitcoin bull in here called Camel Finance, Josh, as well. So if there's any questions you want to know about Bitcoin, maybe you've got an opportunity to ask me or Camel if you want to know anything. But other than that, we can talk about anything.
Yeah, if that's all right. So frankly, I don't know anything really about crypto other than I know it's digital. You've got Bitcoin that's decentralized. I want to say that no one is in control of it in terms of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
I've read a book, I can't remember, I've got it somewhere, but it's on crypto in 2015. I can't remember what the Bitcoin price was. But apart from that, and a little dabble, with word of mouth of, I think it was during COVID, um, I put a little bit of money into various different cryptos. Um, Bitcoin was one, Ethereum, Cardano. I had no clue. I don't know what it is. I just basically put in money that I didn't mind seeing go to zero because people told me, well, put in money that you don't mind seeing to go to zero, and I didn't understand it. I still don't understand it now. So, really, what question I kind of want to pose is what's so good about Bitcoin? And
In
that's open.
in comparison to what sort of context are you asking that question?
So, is will Bitcoin be the future of money? Would it replace, would it be the preferred transaction compared to fiat over time? Will we see more businesses take it? Will it be more recognized? Really, will it become more of a, when people hear and see Bitcoin, could I go to the co-op and say, I want to use some Bitcoin to buy my shopping? Could we see something like that in the future?
Yes. The answer is yes to all of those questions. I think, first of all, it's important to point out that Bitcoin and crypto are two different things. There is Bitcoin and then there's everything else. And I think if we just accept that as the truth for now, and again, you don't have to take my word for it, you can go and do your own research. But Bitcoin is kind of a unique beast. And I think before we go any further, I want to ask you, what is it that you like, or what is it that attracts you to gold?
I mean, for me, it's something that's finite. It's a storage of wealth. It's something that has been valuable for thousands of years. It'll be valuable going well into the future. Fiat currency, of course, with the economy that we have, is printed. It devalues. The US dollar's devalued 96% since 1971. It's only ever going to devalue over time. £10 in, I said to 365, £10 30 years ago. I remember watching a video of the 10 round pounds in this guy's hand. Today, that's £35. So it just goes to show that those coins are the exact same, but the purchasing power is different. For me, gold is a storage of wealth. It won't create, perhaps it won't make you rich type thing, but it can certainly store that wealth for you, for yourself and future generations. That's why I like it.
Okay, good. So I would suggest that everything you like about gold, Bitcoin probably does better. So, first of all, it's far easier to verify Bitcoin than it is to verify your gold, right? The next thing is, it's also far more portable. It's quite difficult to move undetected across borders with large quantities of gold. Whereas Bitcoin, you can move this thing anywhere in the world just by memorizing 12 words in your head. So it improves on many of the properties of gold. It's also far easier to divide Bitcoin than it is to divide gold. It's far more divisible. It's also far scarcer, right? The inflation rate of Bitcoin is currently significantly below that of gold's. And after the next halving, which is due in something like 2 and a bit years, then it will be even more so. So again, the properties that attract you to gold, Bitcoin just happens to do better. The pretty much the only place that gold currently wins versus Bitcoin is gold is proven, right? Gold has been around for thousands of years. We've been using it for thousands of years. It's proven itself as God's money for thousands of years. Bitcoin, on the other hand, is only 15, 16 years old. So Bitcoin is relatively nascent, but at least from my perspective, that means that there is opportunity there from a value proposition. It's also worth pointing out that that does mean there is some risk, right? Because it does not have thousands of years of track record, of proven track record. But it is also much more censorship resistant, right? It's a totally peer to peer, permissionless, decentralized network. So, pretty much everything you like about gold, Bitcoin does better. And really, if you're a gold bull, you should, in my humble opinion, be a Bitcoin bull as well. And I think the big distraction here is I know you already kind of mentioned, oh, I had Ethereum and Cardano and whatever. Look, they all have their place. They're all speculative. They all do different things, right? There is no competitor to Bitcoin, right? That's the other thing. There's Bitcoin and then there's other cryptos. And those other cryptos really only share one common denominator, and that is that they use cryptographic encryption as part of their blockchain system. Outside of that, there is Bitcoin and there is everything else. And nothing is really even attempting to replace Bitcoin. There's just Bitcoin and then there's a bunch of other protocols. So I think the first thing to do is to segregate Bitcoin from everything else. And then again, if you're a gold bull, understand that. And again, don't take my word for it. Go and research this for yourself. But everything gold can do, Bitcoin can do better. So it's definitely more volatile, but it's also incredibly, vastly more scarce. And again, it's more divisible, it's more portable, it's more verifiable, it's more fungible. So I would consider Bitcoin to be gold on steroids. And I don't much like the idea that you have to say one or the other. I've always been a proponent of having both. I think both have their place, and I wouldn't want to pick one over the other. But I also think if you don't own any Bitcoin and you're super bullish gold, then you're kind of missing a trick here to some degree because again, Bitcoin is gold 2.0. It's gold on steroids.
Sorry, can I just ask then? So, in terms of Bitcoin, I understand everything you've just said. Is Bitcoin a, is it like, do people get into it to make money? Do they see that shooting up? Or is it a means of payment for future proof? Does that make sense? How do people see it? Or is it literally just a hold? I'm just trying to work out my head with it, really.
Bitcoin is many things to many people. That's the beauty of it. To some people, this is an attempt to separate money from state. To other people, this is number goes up and I want to make more fiat currency. To other people, this is the greatest store of wealth that humanity has ever had the opportunity to get hold of. To other people, the end goal is hyper Bitcoinization, where everything is denominated in Bitcoin. We price everything in Bitcoin because fiat currencies have totally collapsed. So Bitcoin is many things to many people, and you get to choose which one of those you want to kind of subscribe to. I've always thought that long term, the whole thing with Bitcoin is that it's binary. It either goes to zero or it goes to hundreds of millions per coin. And anything in the middle is kind of a failed experiment. That's how I've always kind of seen it. And of course, if it goes to hundreds of millions a coin, then by then we will be pricing things in Bitcoin. That's what the term hyper Bitcoinization is when everything is priced in Bitcoin. And you will be able to spend it, you will be able to earn it from your employer, you'll be able to go to the co-op, as you said earlier, and spend it on groceries. And to some extent, you can already do this. It's just kind of the process. There's a few like middleman steps in between, but we are seeing this in places like El Salvador where they've adopted it as legal tender. So one by one, the dominoes are falling. And I think if you ask any kind of normal Bitcoiner in general, they will tell you that if we get a few decades into the future, this will be very common practice and Bitcoin will be the standard.
Wow. I don't suppose either yourself or Andy, is there any sort of thing I can read up about, or is it literally just watch YouTube? Is there anywhere like a go-to that you would recommend to read more about it?
There's lots of free content on YouTube. There's also books like the Bitcoin Standard. There's lots of different books. Um, I'm sure
Okay.
you'll be. I would start with the white paper. That's where I started, and that kind of made a lot of sense to me. And then from there, I'm sure you'll be able to figure it out.
Okay. Well, I
What
appreciate that. I'll
Then you'll
certainly
just have
look
more
into it.
questions.
I just want to say very quickly, sorry to jump in. I just want to say hi, Cam. Hi, 1LV. Thank you for popping in.
Oh, one LV's in here. Hey,
Yeah. And Josh, what I'll do is I'll post some links to some stuff that has helped me personally, some videos, some people's videos that I watch, and in the description of this video, and also on my channel and bits and pieces. So it's interesting. It's a lot of work
Can
to
I?
try and understand. Sorry.
I was just going to say to anyone that wants to approach this Bitcoin thing, I think the best thing to do is to try to be as critical of it as possible, right? So do a bit of research, understand what it is, maybe read the white paper, and you go, okay, it's a peer-to-peer network, whatever, blah blah blah. It's a way of transferring value, and then sit there and really make a list and go and ask yourself to really try to criticize it in every way possible, right? Come up with as many questions as you can. Like, what happens if the government bans it? What happens if this happens? What happens if the internet goes out? What happens if, right? Make as many of these kind of criticisms of it as you can, and then go and find the answer. Because the most insane thing to me about Bitcoin is for every criticism, there is an answer. There's a response, there's a justified way to say, your criticism doesn't mean anything, right? That's the most insane thing about it. And only once you have made this list of criticisms and then found the answer to all of them do you realize, okay, that's what Bitcoin is. That's what all the hype is about. So my advice is to be as critical as you can. Try to find as many attack vectors as you can, and then go and do the appropriate research until you find the answer. Because again, the most beautiful thing about Bitcoin is there is no real argument against it, right? Every question you have, every question anyone ever has an answer. And that's what's so incredible about it. So, yeah, like I said, make a big list, try to attack it, and then go and find the answer. And eventually you'll come to this point where you go, oh, wow, now I get it. This is why everyone's so hyped about Bitcoin.
well, yeah, like when I first heard about Bitcoin, I'm sure many people have had the same story with it. Is you read up on it and be like, well, that just sounds stupid. Like, what is this Mount Gox thing? The Magic the Gathering coin? And it's like, well, this is just a video game coin. It's worthless. Like maybe it's an in-game thing. That's how I first learned about it, was reading an article about Magic the Gathering being the exchange for these bitcoins, and they were worth like $1 or $2. And I was like, yeah, that's interesting, but they're like Chuck E. Cheese tokens. So why do I care? And then years later, oh, this thing is really expensive now. Why is it so expensive? These are Chuck E. Cheese tokens. Um, and then you start to read into it and be like, okay, this is not what I thought it was. There's the technology behind it that says that you can't just duplicate them. And I was like, that's very interesting technology, something that we've never had before. And it's all decentralized, and it carries on whether you like it or not. And it's like, well, that is something I can get behind. That's pretty cool.
I think I second that, and I think also what Camel said, just like I guess if you make a list and you come up with something that where you can convince like 4, 5, 6, 10 people that this is really kind of a valid criticism and this is a weakness for Bitcoin and the Bitcoin network, then I think we're all like super happy to talk about this because that would literally be something that you would find something that many people are looking for or somehow have been trying to look for a long time, and it's going to be hard. So there's going to be lots of questions, particularly once you start with the white paper. I think you're just going to end up with thousands of questions, and it's quite a nice journey to start with. It's never ending.
For sure. And whether or not, like Emma was saying, it's different things for different people. There's many people that just want to technically make money off of it, and we see this every cycle. Like I think this is my third cycle going through this, watching this. Um, And towards the end of the cycle, it's all about how much money can I make? I want to make money. And those people may make money for a little bit and then it gives it all back. And then at the bottom of the cycle, you'll have people that are just like, I still see nothing wrong with this. The protocol has not changed. It's still exactly what we think it is. So yeah, I'm going to throw my money in there more. I'm not about making money. I'm about preserving my future capital. So then the people that bought the top last time, they all got out a few months after the top, and they're just like, "This is a scam. I am not messing with this anymore. This Trump meme coin is garbage. This I knew this was all a scam." And I mean, that stuff reflects poorly on Bitcoin and the technology, which is kind of a psyop, kind of tricking people into convincing them that Bitcoin is no different than these meme coins on Solana that are just pump and dump garbage. Bitcoin is something totally different, and people don't realize it until they look into it.
Are you totally confused now?
I kept pressing the wrong button. Sorry.
It's fine.
Right. So all these other cryptos then, are any worth looking at, or is it literally just Bitcoin?
Depends on your end goal, I guess. I mean, if you want to make money, you could potentially trade some of these crap coins, but that's a gambling casino. There is an argument to be said that we're going to be entering into surveillance finance and everything's going to be on a blockchain. And in that case, you'd look into something like XRP kind of taking over and kind of bringing people onto the distributed ledger to control every one of their transactions. Or Cardano, that thing is social credit score for children. I think they did that in Africa. So it depends on your end goal. My end goal is definitely I want to escape the system that's failing and go into something that is not failing. So I don't gamble much on the shit coins. I'm not very interested in them. I do have some XRP only because the chart looks very strong, but other than that, I'm mainly a Bitcoin guy, kind of a Bitcoin maxi, almost toxic, if you will.
I guess those questions are very difficult to answer in objective terms. I guess that's really something that you would have to find an answer for yourself once you kind of get into this. Because I get what Kimosabi says, but I also do get that some people like. I mean, there's like if you want to see it like objectively in quantitative terms, maybe somebody could say that 99% of all the tokens and all the projects are just somehow close to being a scam or maybe even just a scam. And so maybe somebody could say that crypto itself, like if you see it just objectively in quantitative terms, if more than 99% of the projects were a scam, that this is just really all a scam. And it would not necessarily be wrong, I guess. But I do always think that I know people, they're just very actually, I don't know how to say this, like good-hearted or well-intentioned, and they just really like to play around with the technology. They like to code their own protocols. They like to see, how can they create new governance systems, and they really do this because they actually really try to find a way how to, I don't know, make a next step with some sort of protocol that people actually use and that it kind of adds, not kind of, that it actually really adds some value. And so I wouldn't go as far as to say that 100% is a scam and 100% is crap and it's all shitcoins apart from Bitcoin. But unfortunately, particularly when we see things like Libra and the Trump coin and there's so many scams going around, and it's actually quite scary once you make the experience yourself that somebody's trying to hack into your account and you can see it and you get emails and it's like, oh, there were like 120 last week. I got 129 attempts to somehow to being hacked because a colleague of mine has been hacked, and it seems that I'm somehow on that list. And yeah, of course, that's sad. That sucks. But what I want to say is that it's really up to you. Like once you look into projects and you understand them, then it's up to everyone to evaluate if you really want to believe in that, if you think there is some value in that. and maybe, in my opinion at least, Bitcoin is a little bit at the side. So it's kind of something that somehow plays in its own league. But yeah, that's my point of view.
Oh, thank you all. I'll yeah, I need to read up a bit about it. I don't know really anything, but from what you all have said, things are sort of coming together with some of the questions that I did have. So thank you very much. I do have to shoot off, so I do apologise. But Andy, if you don't mind sending me, I think you said you had something as well. Yeah, I'll have a little read in that, and then hopefully when I join in, I might have done some homework. But thank you all.
No problems,
Sure.
dude.
If you want to look into Lynn Auden's book Broken Money, I think that might kind of be a good companion on your journey. I don't. Let me know how you liked it.
And it's Broken Money, is it?
Yeah, it's called Broken Money, and I think there will not be a single book that will explain to you everything. Obviously, like that's life. But there are some things that I really like because it kind of gives you at least somehow, particularly because I was a bit late, but I heard you talking about gold and comparing it to Bitcoin, and so yeah, so you'll find some kind of something that I would kind of think that it's an interesting school of thought. It might somehow help you a little bit to start thinking in that direction.
Yeah, thank you. I'll save it as a little audiobook and listen to it on the car.
Yeah, it is a really good book. It's a good listen, for sure. For sure. There's another one out, which I haven't got yet, but I'm kind of looking forward to getting. And that's by Lawrence Lepard. And he's broken it down as though you're a 5-year-old. The whole aspect of his adaptation. He's getting on a bit, but he's been around the gold industry, Bitcoin industry for a long time. And he breaks it down, the whole thing, from the excerpts that I've listened to, really easy to understand as well. So I'll find out what that's called, and I'll put some stuff in somewhere, and you can follow it up if you want to.
Yes, please, Andy. Thank you all. I'll shoot, but thanks very much for good evening. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, Dave. Thanks for coming on. Hey.
Okay, but if you leave the pub midstream, we get to make fun of you when you leave, just like any other pub.
You get a new friend behind you, Andy.
Yes, that's
Do you want to introduce us?
my new companion. Keeps an old man very happy, for sure. Don't think my wife approves too much, but hey ho, it's AI orientated, so there's a lot of it around. It's so real now. It's really clever stuff. Traveller Jeff, are you jumping on, Jeff? I noticed you in the chat. You said you was going to jump on. Hopefully you can. And
But 1LV had a nice comment on the last video about Bitcoin and the future or something like that, didn't you, 1LV?
Yeah, I think it was. I think Andy put it into the Discord as well. I was just trying to find it because I'm a bit slow today. But yeah, it was kind of. I think actually I think I stole it from Camel, like one of his videos, because he said something that I really liked. Give me just 1 second, I find it. And it was basically, I think, just to give you a little bit of gist, it was kind of talk a little bit about how people are maybe kind of sleepwalking into some kind of surveillance system where it's actually really kind of the opposite of what people, or what was the vision of Bitcoin itself, and that crypto and blockchain in general is kind of going down a dark path. And so, but hang on, I'll find it in a second.
Do you want me to read it out? Camel knows about it because I spoke to him a little while ago about it.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, please.
Let me read it out now. Here we go. Camel's quote that LV picked up on was we are turbocharging our way to handing this industry over to the very same people we were trying to separate money from, and how crypto is turning into a gateway drug to sleepwalk into CBDC like structures. I think that's what you said.
Yeah, yeah. There's kind of, I know those are maybe two different things, but I think they're somehow related. And I hope Camel doesn't, I hope you're not angry. I hope that's okay if we kind of stole that from you. Sometimes you say things that come across as a little bit kind of casual, like it's just literally one sentence in the video. But then there's things that I think are worth picking up and somehow talking or thinking about.
Andy, have you got the quote? You read the quote to me earlier.
Oh, sorry, mate. I just read it out. Sorry. Right. I think at some point you was talking about how crypto is turning into a gateway drug to sleepwalk into CBDC like structures.
I just put it into the chat.
Yeah, and then you said we are turbocharging our way to handing this industry over to the very same people we were trying to separate money from.
Yeah, it's weird. This is like my biggest concern at the moment. Is I think I've been saying this a lot lately, actually, that when I got into this space, it was like, yeah, Bitcoin, F the system. And then fast forward 7 or 8 years, and now we're cheering on BlackRock. In fact, we're kind of mad. We're like, why aren't BlackRock bidding this thing up harder? Why aren't we already at 150K? Right? It's weird.
Yeah.
It's so weird to me. It's like the whole point was we're supposed to do this without BlackRock, and now it seems to have very, very, very rapidly morphed into a situation where we're now cheering on a strategic reserve, and we want BlackRock to pump our bags, and we don't really care about separating money and state anymore. We really just want to have the number go up so that we can cash out and have more fiat. Is that right? Is that what we're doing here now? That I don't know, man. I feel kind of. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be really honest, like really brutally honest here. For the first time since I got into this space, in the last 6 or so months, I've been thinking about selling Bitcoin and maybe not buying it back. Right? Like buying it back from a trade perspective for sure, because I'm a cycle trader and we know that Bitcoin consistently puts in 4-year cycle lows. So from a trade perspective, yeah, 2026, 4-year cycle low, I'm going to buy that for sure. But I'm going to be honest. In the last few months, I've stopped caring about it as much as I once did. Once upon a time, I was super into this, and I feel like it just kind of failed. Like, we're talking about cheering on a strategic reserve and BlackRock and all of this kind of stuff. And to me, that I didn't really sign up for that. We already have fiat and institutions, and I know Bitcoin is way better. I know. But I don't know, man. The whole KYC thing, the more I look at Coinbase, the more I think that is moving towards high net worth investors only. Spread betting, if anyone in the UK uses spread betting, like that's already locked off to high net worth individuals. You can't actually spread bet crypto unless you have a high net worth account, a professional account. And it just kind of feels like, I hate to say it, I really do. It kind of, like, it genuinely hurts me to say this, but I feel like it failed. I really do kind of feel like it might have failed because this is no longer a peer-to-peer censorship resistant network. Like it is at its core, right? At its core, I can still send any of you guys Bitcoin and you can do the same to me and no one can stop it. So it is still peer-to-peer and censorship resistant, but at the same time, it just doesn't feel like the Bitcoin I once bought back in 2018 or 2018 at the bear market lows. I watched this thing come off and I was like, it's going to zero, and it didn't, and it went sideways, and I was like, oh, okay, time to buy this thing. And it doesn't feel like that anymore. It feels dirty. And maybe I hope I can be proven wrong. Like I hope we can pump to 300K and sell it and then buy it back at the 4-year cycle low in 2026 and watch this thing go to multiple millions of coin. I really hope that's the case. But I'm just I'm just disappointed with this space, man. I really am. Like
Well,
most
the
people,
street,
the thing is, let me say this, right? This space votes with its capital, right? That's the whole point of this space. It votes
yeah,
with its capital, right? It's like, do you want Bitcoin? Do you want Ethereum? Do you want Solana? We each get to vote, and we vote with our money. Where we put our money is where we have our vote. That's what we have our say. And it was the same when they had the fork wars in 2017, right? It was like you could have gone with Litecoin, you could have gone with BSV, you could have gone with Bitcoin Cash. We each got to vote, and we voted with our money, and everyone voted to have Bitcoin, and that's fine. But now, fast forward to today, and really, if we're absolutely honest, most people do not give a single iota, right? Most people would rather bid Trump coin or Milana coin or Peanut the squirrel or whatever the other meme coin is. Let's be honest, that like us lot right here may well be majority in Bitcoin, but that is not representative of this space. The
no,
majority of crypto people do not hold the majority of their portfolio in Bitcoin. They actually hold it in other stuff, in Solana, in this, in that, in meme coins. And so the reality is, we have voted. We, the people, humans on this earth, have voted not to have Bitcoin, but to have everything else, right? Just because we are here, majority Bitcoin holders, does not mean that's representative of everyone else. Everyone else actually said, I don't give an F about separating money from state. I would much rather go all in on some meme coin. I would much rather bid Trump to Valhalla and hope that I can rug pull before everyone else rug pulls me. Right? That's where we are. That's actually where we are. Like, I hate to say it. I hate to say it, but that's where we are. Right. And it's easy for us to sit here in our echo chamber and say, well, we're Bitcoin only, bro. Yeah, we might be. Right. But is everyone else? No. Are the people that watch our YouTube channel? No. They're max long some coin that I've never heard of that's down 90% against Bitcoin. And they're
it's
telling you that any
undervalued.
minute now, bro, QE bomb is coming and alt season is coming, bro. Alt season is just around the corner, right? This is where we are. And then when alt season doesn't come, they go, well, it's black market manipulation. We just need a strategic reserve, bro. Like, what are we doing here? What what are we actually doing here? I kind of just feel like let me sell my Bitcoin, put it in gold, buy a big house, and then never look back at this dirty space again. Literally,
But
I really
that's
don't
how
like
it
this
is at the
space
end of
anymore.
every cycle, though.
Can I just welcome iPhone 8 into the whoever you are into the
iPhone
chat?
8, welcome.
So, lads. I want to say I think it's far too early to have that attitude in the grand scheme of history. Like I get the frustration, but your response is coming from something you've seen that's chronically online. Like I think I don't know what your interactions are with people on the street, but more and more and more for me, people on the street are starting to really question what's going on around them and not necessarily being so like, oh, it's all about being fucking straight and narrow down the line, following what the government's got going around them, seeing that the system is so broken. Like I'm from Australia, and the housing situation is completely unaffordable, and it's really making the day-to-day person question what's going on around them, and the conversation and what people are willing to talk about has absolutely changed.
Oh, for sure. And we could tell you're from Australia, mate.
Yeah.
Mate, I'm at the very top end of a place called Queensland in a town called Weeper where we're exporting fucking red dirt and aluminium.
Nice.
So,
But
I
yeah,
lived in Sydney for
definitely
a
people
year.
are definitely waking up to things. So what I was thinking about is this Bitcoin strategic reserve. Ever since I heard the idea, it was just like, are you retarded? Because like Cynthia Lummis came out at that Bitcoin conference after Donald Trump was speaking. Cynthia Lummis came out and said, "Here it is. Here's the bill for the Bitcoin strategic reserve." And I was like, "Are you gaslighting? I mean, that's totally gaslighting us. It's like, do you realize the reason why the value of Bitcoin goes up exponentially is because the government is devaluing our currency. It's the same reason why gold goes up in US dollar terms. So for the government to to grab onto a Bitcoin strategic reserve. It's like they're trying to protect themselves from themselves because they know they can't stop spending, but it's totally gaslighting the population. Like, here we go, Bitcoin strategic reserves. Like we wouldn't even need Bitcoin if you guys weren't so irresponsible.
Yeah.
Total gaslighting.
I don't know. I don't know where it comes into play and how it transitions, because we've seen El Salvador try and just put it in a, basically force people to use it. And I've seen, obviously it's pretty hard to get in the ground roots and see what it's actually like in El Salvador unless you're there. But I've heard pretty mixed results about it. I don't know. What are you guys seen of those kind of Bitcoin communities and how they've actually operated?
I'm so aggravated that they didn't maintain their stance over in El Salvador to maintain the purchasing of Bitcoin, which they are still buying it, but they're going with the International Monetary Fund's orders to not have it as legal tender, more so just acceptable tender, I guess. They kind of changed the laws. And it's so weird to see that because they were doing so good on the Bitcoin standard that they essentially had enough reserves in Bitcoin to pay off their national debt, and it didn't take them but 3 or 4 years. And they're kind of going back on that because they want additional funding from the IMF. Like, you're going the wrong direction. You were doing so well, and then you kind of give up at the end point. So
what was the motivation for the additional funding from the IMF?
I have no idea. I haven't looked into it.
Because I was kind of curious if they were, I don't know. To me, I wonder if they're going to accumulate it under a fucking private company or something like that, and then
That's what I
I
thought.
don't know. It seemed like a very
that.
strange stance in policy to have gone that hard for this Bitcoin idea, and then completely backtrack that. It seems like there must be some better idea that's going on behind it, or some sort of sneaky play.
Well, maybe it's just they're going to mine it with their volcano bombs and stuff like that. They have some really good ideas going on over there. Yeah, they're
Would
kind of
you?
slowing it down.
Does a place like that attract you to move there?
Originally, it kind of did. Because I was thinking about that. I was like, wow, that could be really cool over there. If they are doing what they're saying they're doing, that kind of goes against the rest of the West, where they're trying to move into more authoritarianism. They seem to be more freedom focused. At least that's the way it looked to me. But I could be very mistaken. But yeah, I was interested. I was looking into it for a while, and it's like, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I've heard Camel talk about it once or twice, but Casper is the only other coin or project I've found sort of interesting and has a interesting mission. I know the founder of it is an Israeli, so that's always a hot topic. But have you, specifically Cam, have you looked much into Casper?
Not at all. Not at all. I saw the chart performed really well, but that looked like a very it looked like distribution on that. That's Kaz, right?
Yeah, Kaz, yeah. Have any other lads looked into Casper at all?
Absolutely not.
No.
I've definitely heard about it and seen people say, "Oh, it's the new Bitcoin." Like,
yeah,
we'll
it's an interesting idea. I've watched this. There's a guy called Plan K, and he's got some videos. He's obviously put a lot of effort behind and make some compelling points. But I guess one of the biggest things about these things is time will tell.
Is it decentralized?
Yes, yeah, it is. It's decentralized, but it uses something basically. Instead of transferring an algorithm, it transfers information on a graph of some kind. I'm not a mathematician, so I'm not the one to tell you, but it basically enables much quicker transaction time while still supposedly having the same level of security, and it's completely decentralized and not it's not like Cardano and stuff where they're basically staking it and you can just make it out of thin air. It's still a proof of work system, but it requires a lot less barrier to entry in terms of the power being used. And I get that's one of Bitcoin's features. So, the discussion becomes, well, is there room for two? Is there room for multiple? People have always looked at XRP as just the transfer of day-to-day things. And I guess the online crypto space, but XRP is, basically for demons.
For sure.
Can I just say hi to Traveller Jeff? I think call you Jim this time.
What's up, Jeff?
G'day, mate.
Hello, guys. I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
bud.
Yeah, I'm clear.
Cool. Camel was cracking me up. I mean, like literally. And all of you guys tonight have made like incredibly insightful and valid points. And I don't think any of them are wrong. But philosophically speaking, I just want to provide an alternative explanation to what you're experiencing. Most people in normal life don't own gold. They don't know what gold is worth. They don't trade in gold. They don't possess gold. If they do possess gold, they possess so ignorantly because grandma left them a ring or something tertiary. It's not even in their frame of mind that gold is money. And so, Bitcoin is just now entering global commerce at an institutional and government scale. And of course, they're going to be getting involved because they have to. I think the introduction of BlackRock or other strategic reserves is kind of proof of concept. The proof of concept being that the governments still own gold. They still trade in gold, and there's a market for it. Yes, it's been bastardized through fractional reserve banking and through rehypothecation and paper contracts on the COMEX and the LBMA. We get that. Everybody here gets that. We don't need to rehash that. What's happening now is they're laying the groundwork to perform the same function on Bitcoin in order to keep people from realizing that they need to have it or to be educated about it. So that people want to chase, squirrel coin, peanut the squirrel, is to be expected because people still bet on sports. People still buy lottery tickets. People still text back, scam callers to try to, get an extra special blessing or whatever. People still answer questions from, random scam callers about tech support. The issue is education. And even though this space has provided a lot of education to a lot of people about what money is, and Bitcoin is more sound than gold. Totally agree. I'm a maxi in that regard. The fact that there's so much chaos and noise at this point in the cycle, it kind of reproves the case for Bitcoin in the first place. And the governments are caught swimming naked, and there's no hiding that what's coming. And when the common person iPhone 8 was discussing was saying, hey, I don't know that I trust what's going on in the system. I kind of need to go somewhere and do something. I think I need to hide money somewhere. That's very valid. And that's an important anecdotal sampling to hang on to, because at some point that's going to become the mass hysteria as the traditional form of fiat crumbles. They're going to look for anywhere to run, and some will run to gold, and some will run to Bitcoin, but many will run to their digital masters in their governments who build upon the Bitcoin blockchain layers named XRP or Ethereum or Solana or whatever in order to create the digital, traceable, controllable, programmable currency. Now, I'm a fatalist in this regard. I don't believe it's preventable. So I'm conflicted with my maximalist friends because of my own personal religious beliefs. So I think it's unavoidable that that's going to happen. I think Bitcoin is a great place to be. I do agree, though, with the sentiment Camel mentioned about fuck it, sell it all. Next top, I'm out buying some, a few kilos of gold, and I'm done. And yeah, we all go through that emotional roller coaster. But Lawrence Lepard, I don't know if you guys follow him.
Yeah, definitely.
I know Larry, and he just wrote a great book called The Big Print. I'm not trying to shill his book, but it does a great job of kind of explaining this to the newcomers, and even for seasoned people. I haven't read the book. In full disclosure, I can't get a copy because I'm traveling, but I'm going to meet him in Prague for Bitcoin conference in June, and he's going to give me a copy, and I'll read it then. And my kids are going to read it for homeschool. But I think I know where Larry's going with the book. Is that we all understand that the big guys have painted themselves in a corner that they can't get out of, and they know the gig is up. And Bitcoin is doing its job, its original intended job from Satoshi, by providing an escape conduit for all that bullshit. But the process of going from a fractional reserve banking system controlled by governments, in order to rob people of their savings, that process of transference is brutal, and it's going to savage people. The only way to protect yourself is gold or Bitcoin. And I make that case every time I talk to anybody, publicly or privately. I don't speak publicly a lot, but I speak privately a lot. And I make this case is that the only way to denominate your wealth is in ounces, troy, and Satoshis. And to do anything else is absolute foolishness. And as that escape happens, you're right. It's going to be an ultra high net worth thing to be a whole coiner. And they are going to make a new boys club, just kind of like they do now with gold. I mean, you can't trade a gold contract for less than, what was it, 400 ounces. You have to go 400 ounces on a contract. I'm not sure what it is. I don't ever trade on the COMEX, but I know silver, it's huge. It's 1,000 ounces. They've already put up the barrier to entry. The barrier to entry isn't there for Bitcoin yet. And this is why it's important for people to get as many Satoshis as they can, as fast as they can. And in the best case scenario, the 4-year cycle holds. We go to 300K or 400K or whatever the hell, and then everything takes a giant shit, and people get another chance to re-enter at 80 grand. And whatever they can sell to get there, they need to. But we are going to reach an inflection point in society where people realize my pounds, my euros, my dollars, my whatever are just evaporating in value, and they're going to look for places to throw money. Just be shoveling money out the door to try to protect themselves. And the only place they're going to be able to go is gold and Bitcoin. And the smart money is going to run there. And just by getting there early and sit tight and be right, if you can ride the wave, if you can ride the cycle, if you can ride those, I mean, this is different from trading. I have a lot of respect for traders. I do. But the average person would be better off if they could just put a couple ounces in their pocket and try to stack some Satoshis. And as we say in Texas, where I'm from, if you don't know whether to shit or go blind, close one eye and fart. And that's all you can do in this system is close one eye and fart, grab some Satoshis, grab some gold, and just hold on for dear life. Cause this ride's going to get fucking brutal. It's going to hurt people. So, I want to hear some more thoughts. I'll hang up. I'll mute myself for a little bit so I don't just talk forever because I get to talk.
Can I ask you something?
I fucking love it. Sorry.
Because I think price is really is less of is not really the issue. Like price denominated in dollars, for example. I think Bitcoin for me, I think what the issue is more the accumulation, like basically the aggregation, like when just I don't know, when the US would really acquire something like, I think the Cynthia Lummis bill was like talking about a million Bitcoins. Like if literally like one entity would be in charge, I mean, Satoshi's wallet aside, but would be in charge of so much Bitcoin, that's that's problematic just from an economic perspective, because if you have such a strong accumulation on one side, then how are you going to trade? Like literally, you're just creating then for everybody who comes afterwards, you're just creating a system where like you have like the master that can decide everything. It's no different other than the cap at 21 million, but I don't see really how this can work. And I've been just trying to kind of like figure out, like using Dune, which is kind of it's like an on-chain analysis platform, just to kind of figure out how many wallets actually, for example, exist that have more than one Bitcoin. Because one Bitcoin for me, like right now, if it's somewhere around 90,000, let's just say 100,000, just to be round. That's actually already, like, if you look at the statistics, $100,000 is not something that everybody can pay. Obviously, it's really just a small percentage of the whole world population that can pay 100K. And so it's really crazy, because that means if you have like maybe around 200,000 wallets that have more than one Bitcoin, that have either one or more than one Bitcoin, that already tells you, if you have a world population of, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 billion people, that that we're basically creating something that is I don't know, it's going to be very difficult to do any sort of trade, or like economically speaking, like an economic system that is so tilted into one direction that doesn't work.
Let me see if I can state your case back to you so that I understand it properly, and you tell me if I'm right or wrong. I think your primary concern is that large players are going to come in and be able to manipulate, and that's going to come at the expense of opportunity for the common man. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. That basically, as a consequence of all of this, like an economy that consists out of trade, where people use Bitcoin to pay for things, or they use some sort of financial product that is backed by Bitcoin, that is going to be very difficult if one country has, I don't know, as a significant part of all the Bitcoin in circulation.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's already a few people that have a significant amount of the gold, and but there's still a functioning gold market. And I mean, listen, I travel a lot, and I go all over the world. And like the number one thing I have for safety when I travel that I know I can use to cross a border, to get some cash if I need it, is gold, right? It's gold. It's becoming Bitcoin. I'm starting to see a lot of exchange places use Bitcoin, especially in the Middle East and the Caucasus and parts of Europe, Eastern Europe. I'd say non-EU Europe, maybe Hungary. I know I can do Bitcoin in Hungary. Um, Romania is not a problem. So the use case for the common man for gold still exists, even though there's very large players that control and manipulate the market. Gold still retains its value. I don't think that it's realistic to believe that the dream of Bitcoin creating a utopia is going to be realized in our lifetime. And that let's just assume for a minute that 100 years from now exists and Bitcoin is the utopia. What was the path to get there? It involved governments doing exactly what they're doing now and screwing it up again and controlling and manipulating it, only for it to fail. And you understand the Bitcoin protocol and the standard, and you read the white paper, you realize that the good money always eats the bad money. And so we're the people that deal in seashells right now, and the guys that deal in silver are the Bitcoiners, and they're coming in and they're disrupting the society. And so some people will see a chance to make money and gamble. Some people will see a lotto ticket. Some people will see, oh, I need to move in now and just elevate my status in society. Some people will say, I think I can trade my farm for that silver and make generational wealth. And by the time the king figures it out, the king's going to do what the king is going to do. So you can't change human nature. No matter what we do, we can't change human nature. I deal a lot in negotiation and conflict resolution, and you can never remove the human element of a malactor. A bad actor is always going to be present. The thing is with Bitcoin, they cannot manipulate the supply, and they cannot you cannot hack the Bitcoin network. The day that were to happen, the whole world's toast. And the aliens have landed, and we can go down that road very quickly. But yes, the fact that governments are coming in and grabbing large portions of Bitcoin doesn't mean it's the end of Bitcoin. It means it's the next chapter in the story. And this is a chapter that everybody should have anticipated, because of if anything, it's like it's a compliment that the system that Bitcoin created is a genuine threat to the system that's been imposed upon us all. And the reason we know that it's a compliment is because they stopped fighting us, and now they're going to start trying to beat us from within. That's a hell of a compliment.
I think you're right in saying, for me personally, as a young fella, I think there's no way that, one, it doesn't take generations for, we're talking about moving from a global operating system, which everybody uses, everybody is used to using, has in their daily life, to another global operating system, which is still very early in its inception and isn't fully even matured in how you can use it. Like, using Bitcoin at the moment still isn't extremely convenient. You can make it convenient in certain ways, but to act like it's convenient would be a lie to me to say, because I can't just go down the shops and just fucking use it. Not yet, at least. And that's the other thing. You gotta wait for a lot of old guard to pass through, and not to call anybody old, but I talk to people's grandparents or older generation or people that I work with who are 60 plus, that they won't even consider it. And that's not everybody, but these people, they're like, I can't, it's not real, I can't touch it, I don't want to borrow it. And to be frank, those people have worked their whole lives and they've got enough money that they think sitting in the bank in a little diverse portfolio, they don't want to take that risk. And it's going to take pain and it's going to take fighting to make people want to take a risk, to make people want to seek an answer for themselves. And we're not at that point yet.
I think the precipitating event to global adoption to digital currencies powered by blockchains, not Bitcoin, is going to be a global financial crisis, which impoverishes governments, banks, central banks, entire industries, and that the foundation, when I say layer two, I mean shit coins. Layer one is Bitcoin, layer two is everything else, and layer three is anything else that's built on anything else. Those layer two use cases for central bank digital currencies, which are programmable and fungible and controllable, trackable, all of that groundwork is being done now by the heavy lifters on a state actor level. And last year at Bitcoin Prague, the I don't want to say who, very big people from central banks in EU member states were present, and they asked a lot of questions, and they went home and they did their homework, And the Czech Republic, for example, came back with an answer this year and said, hell yeah, we're going to buy Bitcoin. They're full on maxis. They're doing it just to make, they think they're going to be the new Switzerland over this. And it's quite possible that they get their toe in the water and are able to do it. But to convince the ma and pa to finally get the digital currency is not going to come through education. It's not going to come through enlightenment. Unfortunately, history tells us it's going to come through force. And
or necessity.
Yeah, exactly. And what's the precipitating event being this whole tide goes out, everybody's swimming naked, nobody's got anything, we're all screwed. When that shit hits, they just flip the switch and they roll out the XRP or the ADA, stable coin linked to your whatever permissions based on your social media activity. Like all that shit kicks in now. And the number one place that this concept has already been proven, believe it or not, is China. China has it.
China's fucking crazy. Don't even get me started.
Listen, but China's not what the propaganda tells you it is. And China's actually got a real mild version of what the collective West is going to do compared to what our imaginations are trained to go wild thinking about. China's system works incredibly well. They know how to build, they know how to industrialize, they know how to run commerce. They're in their own ecosystem. And dude, I'm telling you, that's a whole different world. And it's very much walled off from the world that we know. And even our perceptions of China are skewed and not accurate and do us a disservice. There are many things that are a warning tale coming out of China, but there are just as many things that are examples of how to do things correctly. You can't just demonize their system in its entirety. That would be intellectually dishonest. But what the West has proven time and time again since Byzantium is that we love to stranglehold the shit out of people and create serfs and feudal lords and the general class that manage it all. And so the asshats at the Federal Reserve and the big banks and the central banks are the general class. These aren't guys that chase pussy and win wars. These are guys that just go to school and learn how to conform and their whole life is levered into them conforming compliantly as an aristocrat in a system they believe serves them at the expense of our labor, at our goods and services. So these guys are the worst of the worst. And what they come up with their version of blockchain based technology to replace the fiat system that's going to collapse is going to make everybody wish that they had at least 100th of a Bitcoin so that they could cross a border and say, well, shit, I don't want to live in that system. I think I'd rather go live in Kazakhstan or wherever. And you'll be able to onboard yourself into that system with Bitcoin. The Bitcoin is the layer one, is the foundation of the technological future of mankind. And it is never going to replace gold, ever. They're going to, at some point, find an equilibrium and that'll stabilize to a very large degree. But in the long run, if you don't have Satoshis and you don't have ounces of gold, whether it's a necklace or a thing you can wear around your wrist or just a big stack dug under grandmama's basement, you don't have any money. You can have skills, you can improve yourself with skills, but to say that Bitcoin is somehow going to stop crazed fascist globalists from trying to oppress the shit out of us that's never going to happen. Not in our lifetime. And if it does, it's because the aliens came down, and I would submit to you that they're even worse. But neither here nor there. But the point I'm really trying to make is, at some point, the anarcho-capitalist daydream that we all had for a long time with Bitcoin as great as that is, as possible as it is in theory, in fact, when you introduce malactors and coordinated networks of power in the world, there's no way that was ever going to happen the way we all wanted it to happen. But the fact that they're adopting it proves the use case of what Satoshi created. And I yield back to balance of my time.
I fucking love it. I really do. Does anyone want to weigh in? Camel, do you want to come back in? Because you sounded a little bit fed up with it all.
I don't know, man. I'm so confused, to be honest. I'm so confused.
Go on, mate.
On the one hand, it all seems like Bitcoin is on the path to world domination. That's probably not the right choice of words. But, I mean, if the US is really building a strategic reserve and the institutions are really driving this market, then on the one hand, it is moving in the right direction for hyper-Bitcoinization. But on the other hand, it just feels a bit weird to me. I don't know if anyone else shares this idea of mine or if anyone else shares this feeling of mine. But something about this doesn't sit right to me. And I can't really reconcile the two, to be honest. So I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah,
You're on Twitter too much, mate.
Let me just ask Camel a question. What is it that's really got to you? What is it in what is it that's happened that you possibly really so believed in that has changed that mindset to make you feel, fuck, this ain't right? What is it? That's what I'm curious about.
I think it's a combination of all of the KYC stuff around it and the institutional adoption and
Thank you.
I don't know, man. It just feels dirty to me. It just feels dirty. I can't get away from it. Like, if you'd have spoken to me a few years ago, I would have been the most evangelist. Bitcoin is freedom. Bitcoin is hope. Bitcoin is this. Bitcoin is that kind of guy. And it just doesn't feel like that's where we are anymore. Yes, it feels exciting in terms of the number is probably going to go up a lot. And I'm not sure where we can get those kind of returns outside of Bitcoin. But are we missing the point? Like, are we just going to buy Bitcoin and then sell it for fiat and then end up with a bunch of fiat? Is that the point? That was never the point for me. Personally, that was never the point for me.
What was that point?
The point initially was let me hold an asset that is completely censorship resistant, totally anonymous, and will protect me from the mathematical certainty of fiat debasement. And to some extent, all of that still rings true. But at the same time, it kind of feels dirty somehow. I just can't reconcile it.
Michael Saylor did that to you. It's Michael Saylor.
Yeah.
Buying it, and he's like, number always goes up, right? Like,
yeah, and you never sell
okay.
your Bitcoin. You never sell it, right? Okay, fine. But like, what is the point in holding something if you're never going to sell it, right? Like, at some point, you have to do something with it. Even if you loan against it, like, you have to do something against it. And I see that a lot as well. People are like, oh, yeah, you just borrow against it. It's like, okay, fine. But really, if we're honest, if we're absolutely honest, that applies to ultra high net worth individuals only. Right, your average Joe is not collateralizing their Bitcoin to get a loan. They don't have enough income to justify loaning against their Bitcoin. Right, like most people in this space they've got let's just say, pick an arbitrary number. They've got a net worth of X, right, and they're 99% invested in Bitcoin. So the idea that they're going to loan against their Bitcoin, it's like, no, you need to have significant income to be able to loan against your Bitcoin. Otherwise, how are you going to pay the loan off, right? It's stupid. Like,
no, the loan just pays itself off because number goes up, right?
yeah, because number goes up, apparently, right? Let's hope you don't get margin called because you loaned against it at the top. Like, that might be a strategy if you loan against it at the bear market lows. But I mean, I don't know, man. This whole thing seems weird to me. I really hope I'm wrong. I really hope that my sentiment can be changed, and maybe we're at 300k Bitcoin by the end of the year, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm converted again. But I don't know, man. It just seems weird to me. It just seems weird. Like none of this feels right anymore, and maybe I just wasn't good at foreseeing the inevitable in terms of institutional adoption, and maybe like if we're going to get to a point where we can spend this as money, if it's legal tender everywhere and we get the hyper Bitcoinization type deal, then of course all of this stuff had to happen. And maybe my little monkey brain can't quite comprehend what that looks like. But the whole thing just kind of feels weird. And I'm just kind of tired, to be honest. I'm just kind of tired with the space. I kind of feel like giving my 300k Bitcoin, let me cash out. Let me put it in gold. Let me move away from this space. I just feel kind of tired, to be honest. But I don't know. Maybe that, like I don't know. Maybe we can change my opinion on this over the coming years or something. But yeah, right now it's just not feeling great. I'm gonna be honest. I'm just being real with you guys.
If I may for a second.
That's wicked. Sorry, just before you jump in, Jeff, that's what I really love about this sort of space is people can be just totally open and expressive about their personal opinion. And I've got all credit to anyone that can feel free to be able to do that. It's really cool. Sorry, Jeff.
I was going to say, I was a career soldier and for a time was an entrepreneur. And then I went to welding school and worked as a welder. And I worked in a factory building the towers for the wind turbines. And I worked my ass off for the money I had. And the wife and I took a vacation without the kids and went to a pretty nice place and sat in a hot tub. And we felt like really good because we had worked so hard for the things that we were experiencing. And then the nasty trust fund guy in his 50s wearing a wool sweater called a chest with hair, and a mankini goes into the same hot tub and it kind of makes the whole thing feel dirty and tainted. And it was nasty. The issue for me wasn't that I didn't work hard enough and to not warrant where I was. The problem I had was I didn't like the people that were had the same amount of money that were able to buy that same experience. And part of the dirtiness in Bitcoin for me, I don't want to speak for Camel, is that I'm afraid of becoming the thing that I despise. And so what happens if the dystopian world comes and you do have your Bitcoin and it does protect you a little bit, and now you are the ultra high net worth individual, who the hell do you smoke a cigar with? And does that guy make you feel better? Because it's like hanging out. This is on the internet. I shouldn't say it, but it's like hanging out with a mafia guy from the Balkans. Like you never feel better for that. It always feels worse. And that doesn't mean that the money was bad. It doesn't mean that hard work was bad. It doesn't mean that enjoying it was bad. It's just that there are some real shitty people in this world that taint the experience for the rest of us. You feel me, Camel?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It could well be that. It could well be that. Maybe I've just been kind of immersed in this space for too long. Maybe I'm just kind of, I don't know, getting tired of it, perhaps a little bit. But it kind of feels like when I came into this space, it was like, wow, I found something. I found the most pristine asset ever. And fast forward 8 years, and I'm kind of thinking, maybe I just want the fiat. Which I can't even believe I'm hearing myself say this.
Fuck,
to be
man.
honest, I'm just being real with you. I'm just being completely honest. But I'm just kind of like, maybe I just want the fiat, right? Just I don't know. And maybe I'm just an idiot. Maybe I'm a total idiot that got in super early and just doesn't deserve to hang on until it reaches its checkpoint or whatever. And maybe I'll change my mind again, right? Maybe like we pump and we sell and then we get back into the 4-year cycle low and then suddenly I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, now I get it. maybe that comes later in life, but like right now, I'm just so tired, man. I'm so tired of this space. I'm so tired of the meme coins and the altcoins and everything else that comes with it. And I just kind of think, in a way, I'm like, give me my money, let me put it in gold. Let me put it in gold and property and be just be an old man about it. Right? The old stuff worked for thousands of years. Like I think it'll probably continue to work. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's a personal crisis. I don't know. Like I say, I'm open to everything, and maybe I'll change my mind again in 6 months. But right now, I feel kind of tired and worn out about it.
I really hear you. I get it. I get what you're saying. The interesting thing I've noticed, if it's possible that we are going through this crazy time in the financial history of what everyone's experienced for how long they've been here on this planet, if we're going to go through this time where we are going to get a reset, a collapse, none of us have emotionally experienced any of this, and anything's on the table, absolutely anything. And it will, I believe, when when you look at different things in life as you get a little bit older, the old gets talking now. As you get a little bit, nothing ceases to amaze you when you experience something that you didn't anticipate could happen in life. And then you have to sort of sit there and just really try to work out in your own mind, oh my God, I didn't anticipate that. What's going on? And then you can go down rabbit hole, rabbit hole, rabbit hole, and you can overthink everything until you realize that some things in life are just not in your control. And you have to just recognize that sometimes. And then that alleviates the emotional stress that we put ourselves under, because some things we cannot control. And when we look at the possibility of a total financial collapse into something possibly new, you've heard of the full turning and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, logically, it makes sense. None of us have experienced what that is because we've been in this bubble. Well, I've been in this bubble for 60 years, so I've really feel for the younger generation, because they're witnessing this change so quickly, and it all depends on how old you are and how long you've been here. But it's changing very, very quickly, and our possibly what we thought was the way that life is going to be is rapidly not, or it doesn't seem like it's not, and that produces emotional confusion. And then you start to think, oh my God, what do I believe in? What do I not believe in? And then we're bombarded with so much shit show. Love that, Ken. So much shit show out there when we're totally engaged in social media, and it's all confusing, and we lose touch of real reality. It will just fuck with your head and emotions. And then I often sit there, and Camel, we spoke about this a few times, that is the ultimate manipulation tool that anybody could use, from Jeff's point of view. If you're a dodgy character at a high level and want to manipulate things the way you wanted to see, that can just screw everybody around. Sorry, my throat's really tickly. So we have to be really careful with how deep we go with our emotions, and just maybe just accept sometimes, yeah, maybe we've just got to learn and just watch and observe and try and position ourselves the best way possible and not screw ourselves around with it. Just do the best you can, if that makes any sense at all.
CBM, mate, I just want to say, this type of the little community that's being fostered here, I think, like, as you're saying, you gotta accept what's in your control and not what's in your control, and you've done that, and then you're creating this little community, and I think this is genuinely the type of discussions and attitude that society at large on a Western scale is missing, because it's these kind of measured discussions. It's these kind of discussions that aren't just like, everything that I'm surrounded by as a young person in terms of discussion is just hyper intense. You know, you got these actors like fucking Jake Paul who just take up everybody's energy, and all they want to do is talk about who's this guy he's boxing, yeah, it's just insane. And I think it's bringing it back to this kind of reality and seeing where this communities like this grow. Because even in the Bitcoin space, I haven't seen a community like this or a discussion like this before. And I've been interested in this space and following this space now for 6-7 years, and this is the first time, and we've been over $100,000 that I've seen a community like this. And I'm sure there's good discussions that Traveler Jeff is having, that obviously sounds like he's involved in a serious community. But outside of this, I can't personally name or have seen a community that's willing to have as measured as a discussion. And I think this place and this kind of culture that's being developed here is what's needed. And I think that's what's really going to push things forward and stop it from feeling dirty per se, and generate and spawn the ideas that are going to take a space like Bitcoin further, are going to take Western culture further. Because I think another big thing is like there's a far right movement. There's a bit of a right movement that's coming out with all like, fuck the government, we're all being controlled, we're all going to get CBDCs, like they're trying to push transgender people and everybody. And that's far to one side, and people are just hyper Trump and like, all I want to do is Trump. These measured conversations that are being had here is what's needed, and I think that's what is going to push society forward and take us into a better place. So I just want to say thank you for doing that, and I think it's the answer to a lot of the issues that we've discussed over the last 40 minutes to an hour.
Yeah, cheers, bud. Thanks for that. Sorry, Jeff, go on, mate.
So the real question is, if we don't like the way the world is going and we understand the potential energy in Bitcoin, by us acquiring a substantial footprint in this space, if you become the ultra high net worth individual, how are you going to not become the thing that you despise? Like, Camel, if you're a billionaire, you like raise your right hand, promise you're going to become Batman or at least fund him or something? Like, what steps are you going to take personally to make sure humanity's better? If you make it because we're smarter or because we're early, what are you going to do as a responsible human being to your fellow man with your wealth to better society? Start thinking about that now if this is really going somewhere.
Bruv. I mean, on the one hand, nothing. I'm going to buy a yacht and chill out. On the other hand, I pay more tax than most people ever would in their entire life in a single year. So you can spin this whichever way you want, right? Like, on the one hand, you can say, well, all I do is move money around and therefore I don't contribute nothing. But on the other hand, like I said, I pay more tax in a year than most people will in their entire working career. So you could argue, I don't know if I agree with it, but it's just an argument. You could argue that, that money goes to funding doctors and lawyers and firemen and blah, blah, blah. So maybe by proxy do my bit. Like, it's not voluntarily by any means, right? But the government takes that money and it puts it back into society. So maybe, just maybe, that's the case. I mean, I try to help those around me, for sure. But I'm by no means going to pretend to be on any kind of high horse and call myself like a good guy that tries to contribute to the world around me. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm by no means claiming to be that guy.
I would like to say that regardless of what the fuck happens, then hopefully the community that we build together will never change, and we're there to support each other. It sounds so cliche, but fuck it, I'm going to say it. That we remind each other of who we are, where we fucking come from, the ups and downs we've fucking been through, and we're all the same. We're all fucking shit the same. It's all the same colour, and that we remind each other when the shitty times are around, when we're having problems with fucking dealing with all sorts of bollocks, that we're there for each other and we give a shit. And if we can achieve that, or if I can achieve that or be a part of it, then it doesn't fucking matter what I've got, what I haven't fucking got. What I've got is each other. And that's the way I look at it, as my family. And hopefully, you know, if we all invest in Bitcoin and it all fucking does what we think it could do, possibly in time, and I'm still here, I'm not worm food in a box, but my kids would be, and they're just in this just as much as I am, then they've got a fucking community that will be there for each other, and you build something with it, and you do good within that community, and you build it from there. And it's up to individuals whether they want to be a part of it or not, or you go your own fucking way. It's pretty simple. That's life. That's humanity. Sorry, off my high horse. I'll shut up now.
Oh, that's it. So that Camel's Point round trip's my original point that I was making, is that the human element is unpredictable in an individualistic way, but exceptionally predictable in a historical context. And even though we're probably early, we're not wrong. And if you can sit here long enough, you will have the ability to either be Batman or buy a boat and chill, or move to a tax-free jurisdiction and just like offshore your shit or whatever. Everyone's going to have the freedom to make that choice because they made hard choices now. And that's what being early presents, is an opportunity to preserve a choice for later. And by I mean, there's a lot of things that people who are not in this space, who are working class guys, have done with their money besides do what we've done. And they've had different memories and a different experience for that. It was, you know, some hedonistic, some, traumatic, whatever they've done, or maybe they built a garden somewhere and it's fantastic. Congratulations. But to voluntarily sit on the wildest emotional roller coaster of putting your personal wealth into Bitcoin during a time of quantum change is, we're all a little masochistic in that regard. And if it works out, I hope everybody, whatever your thing is that you want to do, I hope you do it. I hope you have the ability to do it. And I hope you're smart enough to preserve your ability for your, children to do it. Unless you have shitty kids, then just spend it all. But the common trauma bond that we all share from staring at charts and going through cycles years on end will probably keep a community that's very healthy for a very long time. I think people will be surprised what good is able to come of this system. And I think people will be surprised at what evil is able to come of the system. And won't you know it, the sun will rise in the east and set in the west, and we'll all just have another day. But I do enjoy the space you've provided with this podcast or pubcast, Andy, and that it's just like regular guys, and we all get to kind of share our vulnerabilities, not like in a chicks drinking wine sort of way, but in like a, hey, I do my best like once a quarter to try to send people messages. I sent some of y'all messages today, just trying to be positive and say, hey, I appreciate the work you do and thank you for your, and you're an encouragement. Is it that this doing a front facing role can be very taxing personally, emotionally, physically. And so it takes a lot to do it. I appreciate it. And for the guys that don't come on, that just listen or that listen later in the future, it's going to be beneficial to everyone. So I enjoy the hell out of you traders, though. You guys are a wild bunch, and I love to watch you and follow. It's endless entertainment for me. I do benefit a lot from it. I got to be honest. You guys do some heavy lifting for me. But it's good to know that this is not just for the rich. This is for people who were thinking and trying to figure out how to make a better way. And so that's encouraging. And I don't give a shit what you do with your money. It's your money. It's your business. But just understand that the assholes in charge in the government think the same way. and they're power hungry, and that never changes.
Absolutely. It's interesting. It's you know I've known Camel for a while now, and you know I've built a relationship around a lot of people now that I've met through this. And sometimes I sit there and I think, fuck me, Jesus, what a burden, you know. You're trying to do the best you can and you're heaping all this pressure and pressure and pressure. And I see the good in all of these guys out there trying to educate people, and I push people their way, so I'm probably adding to their burden too. But I think one of the biggest things is sometimes we have to fucking remember we're just human beings, for fuck's sakes, you know. And we're not all like, I love what Jeff says, sorry, I call you Jim so much, Jeff. We're not Batman, but we can try and be as close as what we can do for society. But don't forget, you've got to look after yourselves, you know. And that's what I love about having this space, just as a blow-off place for people just to hang out and just chill out and let them know that we're all the same and we're all going through these different bits and pieces and we share it all, you know. It's cool place to be. We love you all. Well, I do. I love you all, that's for sure. That's a bit of a downer tonight, isn't it? Or is it? It's just the truth, isn't it? It's the reality, total reality. Anyone else want to change the subject or carry on talking about?
I'm still waiting for the aliens. It's March and the clock is ticking. I think Camel set March as the deadline, so I'm like looking out of the window every day because I'm actually really looking forward to that one.
Yeah, they're a little bit delayed. Like, give it till June, they'll be here.
Get them on the hotline. Get them down here. They can come and join in Kem's shit show.
I'm not gonna lie. You could Starship Troop for me if the aliens came down. I'd be keen on doing that. If that's the way I gotta go, that'd be good fun. I
got one coming on the show, but they're a little bit waylaid. Give it a few months. Give it a few months, they'll be here.
There's probably a few in this podcast at the moment. Got one here, look. Spying. Mind you, if that's the aliens that are coming, Jesus Christ, we're fucked then, literally.
No, if they're hot chicks, mate, we'll be fine. We know what to do with them.
Absolutely. Oh, guys, do you want to take the conversation anywhere else? What we got? Half an hour? No.
Yeah, I was wondering, Kimosabe, did you do any further research on because I think a couple of weeks ago we were talking about how XRP, or Ethereum, or also other blockchains could be a bridge to somehow. I think we were talking about creating a system where you can what was it? Somehow roll over the debt, the US debt, and somehow, I don't know, I don't remember anymore. Let me check.
Yeah, well, the debt is like a huge problem. And this is kind of what Jeff was talking about with regards to the big print and what would happen and how volatile things can get if a system is collapsing. It's all a debt system. So once that collapses, you're going to have a lot of volatility, and it's going to be quite a roller coaster ride, and there's going to be a lot of pain in both directions. The idea that we were talking about, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, is just having the bridge currency, which XRP is kind of touted as the bridge currency, bridging the debt into the blockchain system or something like that. And I haven't done any more research on it, just really just thinking about it. And how do they value the debt, or how do they get value into the debt to have buyers? They need buyers for their debt that's collapsing, and maybe they put a little sparkly token on it like XRP, and ooh, XRP, that's a new shiny way of transitioning the debt. We like this now, and XRP pumps to say $10 or something like that, and then immediately goes to zero to devalue the debt, and like, oh, the debt's gone now. I don't know.
Chemo, it would go to zero in a kind of possibly like in relation to Bitcoin, but in the ecosystem of the people who are now tokenized in their assets and pay, they would all essentially be cemented into serfdom in a digital hellscape that we all fear.
Yeah.
So the debt won't necessarily be transferred anywhere except the future generations who of the people who get trapped in that system will have that debt transferred onto their backs. But when you're in a complete fiat digital landscape, you have complete central planning, and it's going to be the Soviet Union on steroids.
It could be. Have you ever heard of Clive Thompson, British guy, old banker type or a portfolio manager guy?
Love that guy.
Yeah, he talks about how the debt is a huge problem and how they would have to devalue the debt and maybe introduce a new currency where the old debt is denominated in the old currency, and that debt dies with that old currency and it gets devalued to nothing while we're bridging over into a new currency to essentially wipe away the debt. So whoever's has that as a liability on their balance sheet comes out a winner, and whoever has that debt as an asset on their balance sheet comes out a massive loser, and they'll just get devalued into oblivion. So maybe this is a big game of, pass the hot potato, where all governments are trying to issue as much debt as possible. Credit card companies are trying to not issue as much debt, and it's just whoever has debt on their balance sheet. It's a game of toss it to whoever will take it at any price, and it's all at once a big exit. And you may see a lot of volatility and a lot of pain in that regards, where you'd have corporations that hold corporate debt that may go to zero. Like MicroStrategy, they're holding debt notes to buy more Bitcoin. They could essentially go to zero and have to give up their whole stash of Bitcoin because they've collateralized themselves from a corporate sense, not from a Bitcoin sense. And they would essentially go to zero and have to sell off their Bitcoin to whoever can buy it, potentially at a discount. I think that is the huge issue there. But Clive Thompson talks about it, how they want to devalue it and move to a new currency and just get rid of the old debt.
Yeah, that's like the theory of a debt jubilee, where like everybody's just forgiven. The house you couldn't afford, the car you couldn't afford, you just get to keep it. Congratulations. But by agreeing to those terms and conditions, you essentially cement yourself into a system where you can never create real wealth ever again. All you can do is rearrange the chairs on the Titanic at that point. You're locked in where you're at, and it has social implications, because if I can't move out of this system, I can only move up in the system. It makes me predatory and excessively competitive. It destroys the social contract. A lot of people are concerned about that. And ultimately, that debt transference really isn't that the debt went away. It's that the debt is exchanged for your liberty. And let's just throw out the boogeyman, Baron Rothschild, right? So Lord Rothschild now owns you all, lock, stock, and barrel, in exchange for a debt jubilee. And people being people will probably cheer it on, to be honest. But to be clear,
I'm
that's
not so sure about that. I wouldn't know why people would accept that. Like that exact scenario, I mean, it's again a little bit of a cultural thing. I think there's this cultural difference that when people grow up in a country where you've seen like presidents having to flee, like a whole bunch of people, like thousands of people, like blocking the airport and wanting to actually like kill the president, and that happens over and over again, then you realize it's just so crazy. Like I mean, maybe you're right, but I just can't see it. I think that people would just go crazy first and then just try to kind of because also there's no knowledge. Like the average person would most likely in such a scenario don't even understand what hit them. Like it's just very it's more than scary. It's just very confusing to even just envisage such a scenario. It's
Yeah, I don't think you're right about the culture. You know, this most of the scenario that I kind of play out verbally here is probably what will happen in my homeland. I know versions of it will happen in other places, but I know of places that are going to be somewhat insulated from all of that because they're taking steps now, and their governments, their central banks are taking steps now just to avoid that. And so, yeah, what society you come from plays a large role. Your geography and available resources to your geography play a big role. And this is macroeconomics, man. Welcome to the club. Nothing is in a vacuum. Everything's interconnected. We all live on a very small planet, and nothing can happen in one space that doesn't affect everything else somewhere else. And a lot of smart people trying to figure this out right now, and not all of them are good actors.
I think that the scenario of a Rothschild doing something like that, you know, they're their most privileged in the current position where they're hidden, you know, and that's the real people that are in power, and they want to keep it that way. Is they're not overtly, they're not the overt target. I don't think they want that all unquestioning power. That, you know, that's not how you sustain that kind of thing. So in terms of that scenario of playing out, I don't think I'm ever worried about it, because when you become that, if they became that kind of king or that lord, then you are the target. You are responsible. I don't think they want that.
Gents, I hope you don't mind if I check out right now, but I got to check out.
have a good Sunday, Camel.
Thank you all for your time. It's lovely to speak to you, and I'll catch you all soon next week, I hope.
Take care.
Cheers.
Okay, cheers, guys. Thanks very much. Cheers. Bye.
But
Well, my point is that there's already people doing those bad things, and they happen on small levels and big levels, and it happens all the time, every day, everywhere. Sometimes we cheer the guy on because he's our son of a bitch, and sometimes we make him a target because we think he's just a son of a bitch. But those people pursuing power, it never goes away, and on any level. And it doesn't mean that there's a grand globalist conspiracy that's going to enshrine, you know, the whole world under a single web. But it doesn't mean that, given the opportunity, several people wouldn't go ahead and give it the old Bronx try. They would make the attempt, given the, and this is the use case for Bitcoin. Again, and for gold. And to denominate your wealth in anything other than a Satoshi or a troy ounce is to fall prey to that system designed to impoverish you. It's a game set to make us lose. And there's a small window of time where you have a chance to buy a seat on a rescue boat for the new economy that's coming. And that's what gold and Bitcoin represent. And in addition to those things, there's personal skills like knowledge, your knowledge or your ability to perform a service or provide goods for an economy. That insulates you as well. You don't need any Bitcoin or any gold if you have a high demand skill that's not replaceable by technology. If there's guys that go out and they repair gas pipelines while they're in service with welding machines, they're charged with gas. There's actively gas flowing through, and they go and they weld on the dang thing. And those guys make more money than an 18-year-old stripper outside of a military base on payday. and and they're going to have a job no matter what, and they're never going to be a robot can do that. Never going to be a, you know, so it's goods, services, right? Is what an economy really is, and the medium of exchange for those goods and services is money. And so taking whatever it is that you do for the economy and applying your savings into an a safe hard asset like gold or Bitcoin is the only smart move that a regular guy can make. And like I said, there's this window of time. You can still go buy an ounce of gold, and you can order, you can peer-to-peer Bitcoin or buy it on an exchange, or you can get it on PayPal and send it to a cold storage now. And that those days are numbered. I don't know how numbered those days are, but those days are numbered. And at some point, all the capital controls will show up, and then it'll be too late. You're either in the club or you're not. And so it's real important, if you care about people and they can't understand it, maybe set a little aside for them.
Yeah, yeah. I think another interesting discussion is, and as we go into a more digital world, um, becomes real important, is the idea that Bitcoin can be used as a projection of force. I don't know if you've seen that talk. It's a young lad who's having a talk at MIT. He works for Space Force, and he basically talks about how, the world's always been about different projections of force. There's been wars to acquire things, to settle differences, and it's now you're looking at a digital realm, and the only asset we currently have, the only thing we currently have that is immutable to hacking or to digital interference is Bitcoin. And I think that's a huge other value that doesn't get discussed enough, is, it is the most secure network in the world. And we still haven't lived in a world where the cyberspace has become an all-out war zone, which at some point it has to. I mean, North Korea's done a couple cheeky little hacks, but that's pretty much it. Like, people haven't had to secure themselves digitally yet, and currently the only immutable way to do that is through Bitcoin. I think that's also going to be a massive game changer, and that's where I think that the on ramps is going to be important to still be there, and I think people will make that still there.
Yeah, you have to have it on the back end. The way you'll be able to secure yourself digitally will be through your government, through a tokenized permissions. That'll be the answer. That's what they're going to do. Your ownership of your vehicle, your house, how you pay your bills, whether you can drive somewhere or not, whether you can go to a restaurant, will all be tokenized with permissions and programmed. And but yes, but the guy's talking about using Bitcoin for defense or offense, that the use cases for that now to protect themselves or to launch an attack or deny a permission is going to create the chaos or be party to the chaos that will lead to the system where everybody says, the hell with it, let the government deal with it. I'm just going to go get my phone and get my permission slips and go to the pub. And if that's a good enough life for you, have fun. And if you want a little more freedom, maybe you need to have Bitcoin so that, like I said, you can get to someplace else that has different rules and live according to a system that is less offensive to your conscience.
Do you travel, Jeff, and also in Australia, iPhone 8 and Kimosabi, do you have in your environments, like, and I mean, I don't mean your friends or your friendship circles, like, I mean, basically your countries, like your cultures, like, do you have that many people actually being in crypto and Bitcoin? Because I have the feeling, like, we're having these discussions, but I get more and more the feeling that particularly when we talk about bigger things like the internet itself, or like things that seem to be similar structures as CBDCs, that these things, I don't know, I'm wondering sometimes if I'm not also just a little bit too much in my bubble, because then I see the reality. I don't know. Yesterday I went to a place with some friends, and I realized none of them have ever spoken about Bitcoin. They have no clue, no idea, and that's more or less the average person. I'm currently in Italy, so I sometimes I just wonder, maybe this type of, I'm going to say ignorance for the lack of better word, but I think maybe that's just literally also a little bit of a safety net or some kind of immune response to this I don't know, this really dark world that we're depicting sometimes, because it's going to be really hard. There must be also a lot of people on this planet, like lots of countries, they don't even have phones or have no access to computers. And how you're going to enslave, there must be a better way to enslave. Like, I'm not saying, I'm not condoning enslaving people, but it's just not the best strategy, because
Name one country that you think doesn't have iPhones everywhere.
um, I think, I mean, iPhones are everywhere, but I'm not saying that they don't have phones. Phones are everywhere, but access to phones are not as, like, if somebody steals your phone or if somebody steals your child's phone, like, you might not have the money to buy a new phone in the next month or in the next, and that alone already creates a window that if it was so essential that your whole life, your whole financial life is dependent on this interaction, then, and yeah, I can tell you probably most of the countries that I've visited in Latin America, there's a vast amount of the population. Like, if you're not somehow, in the higher upper class, these people can buy anything. But the average person, I don't think that it's easy to just buy a phone whenever, my son gets robbed. Oh, okay, so I have to buy him a new phone. No, that's just not it. Like, that's not possible.
Yeah. Monkey,
well,
would those
you go.
people you've encountered in your experience accept a free phone if it was offered to them?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, of course, yeah, yeah.
Hook, line, and sinker.
But then again, is it going to beat, like, the cash that they know, that they trust, that they have, and cash might not be even just government cash. Like, historically, everybody has somehow, cash is just a bill that says I owe you money. So, like, people find their own ways how to. I'm not too negative on this. I had my phase where I was like completely dark, but I have the feeling that more and more that I think about it, now I think people find their way how to escape these types of total control once they know how dark it is. But the problem is that I think we're still in, or at least I don't know, that's in my opinion, we're still in a phase of, like, just lack of understanding. And the problem is when things happen and they happen fast, and as you describe, if there's a crisis and the crisis is used in order to force this type of adoption of this terrible system, then obviously everybody is going to be hit on the head, and they're just going to look at the sky and be like, how did this happen? We didn't see this coming. And that's pretty dark.
Then they'll go get their free phone and continue life like normal.
I think, from my personal experience, and for a bit of context, I'm in the, I guess I'm a tradesman essentially. I'm a skipper in Australia who's worked all across the West Coast and the East Coast, and my local community in that sense is a wide range of people, from about 60 to a lot of young fellows who are around my age, which is early 20s, and obviously some of the older guard aren't as interested in the conversation, because in the next 10 years, 20 years, they foresee they'll probably be all right. They've got their money, and it's whatever. But everybody who's even under 30 in this particular industry, I don't know why, I'm sure it's different in other spaces, but everybody at least has a more than above average understanding of the world affairs in the ways that we've been discussing it, in the ways that certain levels of tyranny are coming in. And I'm sure all you guys saw, but Australia during COVID was crazy. It was insane, and it was one of the most harsh lockdowns possible, and that has completely changed the wariness of the everyday man and especially us young individuals. And I'd say the discussion is quite comprehensive. You know, from 17-year-olds that I work with to 35-year-olds that I work with, most people seem to have a pretty decent idea of, you know, what the globalists are doing, how the economy is basically being made impossible to ever own a property outright if you're not coming from wealth. So I would say that people are becoming aware enough that, you know, if things are to kick off, when they do kick off, it won't just be a rug over the eyes like it was during COVID.
Yeah, but there's other catalysts. You know, right now, there's war and conflict in Congo at the moment. It's pretty substantial, and Syria, Western Syria as well, Ukraine, Myanmar, just to name a few, and all those people would gladly take a free phone and a free place to live and universal basic income tomorrow if it meant peace. And so the greatest, so even though people may be wary of the effects of authoritarianism, they can be very easily convinced to just ask for it. And again, when it's your son of a bitch in charge, you tend to celebrate it, you know. And you know, from the American politics side, people on the right that are more conservative and pro their freedoms and liberty have no problem eroding the states' rights when Trump's in power to have federal troops come in and federalize police departments and overstep boundaries and then allow police officers to be masked and hide their identity. But if the Democrats did it, they'd all be up in arms, ready to have, you know, revolution. So it's not that people believe these things so deeply that they're immune to being being tricked. It's much simpler than that. The governments just wave the right flag and say the right thing, and everybody asks for it, jumping for joy.
Have you seen the Palantir Technologies mob and how that situation, you know, like everybody that's this narrative around Trump completely goes out the window when you understand what that Palantir Technologies company is doing. You know, it's like that's just a fucking joke.
That's the whole point right there. Yes, that's a great example. Take that right there and don't ever forget it. And that's why you should self-custody. And that's why you should be aware of how this technology works, because the vast majority of people will not know how this works, will not understand it, will not know anything about it, and they'll be trapped as a result because of their lack of knowledge. You have an opportunity as an early adopter to understand how a blockchain works, to understand a smart contract, to understand what a non-fungible token is, and to understand how to self-custody and how the encryption works. If you do, you're at a whole nother level than the common man. And the common man is just not going to get it. I don't think the world is ever going to trade exclusively in Satoshis. Let me be clear. I actually wish I was wrong, because I would prefer to live in a world where we all transacted in Satoshis, but I just don't see it happening.
But see, Jeff, sorry, but just mindful of the time, like there's another concept that I think that I somehow grow more and more weary of, because I think in the West, generally speaking, and I include myself, we see self-custody as something absolutely positive for a lot of things that we discuss all the time. But I'm not sure if this is really scalable, feasible, globally speaking, just again, because culturally, and that sounds like maybe even a bit patronizing, but I have the feeling, like, especially people that I, you know, again, in like if I talk to my family in Latin America, they can't, they don't, they find it funny when they forget the password, they forget the phone, they leave everything. It's just part of it's like, yeah, well, that happened. Well, I ran there, I met this friend, and I put my beer on top of the car, and the beer fell down on my phone, and my phone was, and so what can I do? I mean, life is like that. And if I ask them, like, can you remember 12 words like a passphrase? man, that's just not going to happen. And if that ever turns mainstream, somebody will come and take it from you. Somebody will just come, enter your house, and just take it, and that's it. And if you're not an ex-military guy or somebody who knows how to defend themselves, and I sound a bit negative, and I don't mean it anyway. I just mean it actually very positive, because I'm trying to kind of think about how this could work, but I just really, I don't know, I just don't see this scaling.
You're right. It won't scale. I mean, people rob each other for money right now. They rob each other for all kinds of things. Of course, they're going to rob each other for your password or your phone. The human element's never going to change. And I understand the cultural issues you're bringing up. I'm currently in Albania, and it's a different world here. People think differently, and they interact with each other differently. But some things in human nature are a constant, and yeah, that won't be corrected. You're right. So the issue is, now that you have this knowledge, what responsibility do you feel to provide for those who are less inclined to understand the complex world that governs their ability to have comfort? And so really you're increasing your own burden by knowledge to take care of your family and your fellow man. Heavy is the head that wears a crown, and with great power comes great responsibility. So now you have an ethical and moral dilemma about how do you deal with this? And the easiest way to deal with it in your mind is to think, well, shit, everybody else just needs to learn what I know, then I don't have to take care of them. But the reality is that's never going to happen. You have a duty to your fellow man, however you see fit, to interact with them in a positive or negative way based on the information that you have. And I know a lot of things some people don't know. And when I encounter people having a hard time because they don't know something, I have a choice to make. And my choice is, do I help or do I just keep walking? And I'm a guy that likes to help, so I try to help. And over the years, I've learned how to help without causing greater harm. And sometimes that's misunderstood by people. And but that's just the way it is. The people that matter understand what I do, why I do it, and how I do it. And I'm not in the habit of explaining myself much anymore. But yes, you have knowledge, and now you have responsibility. Welcome to the big leagues.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Guys, I'm going to have to wrap this up now. We're coming up to 10 o'clock. Does anyone want to say anything? Someone has asked in the chat, one of the members, and they said, what is the Palantir system? Palantir system? I have no idea myself. I've heard of it, but I don't know what it involves. Anyone?
It's a method for central bank digital currency in Iraq, in Ukraine, that's rolled out to permission people to perform certain social functions. And it's essentially a central bank digital currency in its infancy. It's just in the experimental stage. And Palantir is a publicly traded company that deals with it. They're not the good guys. They're backed by BlackRock and all. But they're also not stoppable.
Shit show.
Yep.
Part of the shit show. Does anyone want to say anything before we go?
Jolly good show. It's been a great show.
Amazing.
Love these podcasts. Or pubcasts, as we should be calling them. The W.O.T pubcast. I love that. Traveler Jeff came with that. The pubcast.
That's cool. 1LV, do you want to say anything before we go?
No, I'm good. Thanks. Sometimes I just I have the feeling that all this talk sometimes puts me into a position where I'd like to kind of just, I don't know if it's like really a provocative thought, but it sounds maybe a bit negative, but I actually just mean it in a way that I want to kind of like spark some type of discussion on some really difficult topics, because otherwise it just sounds like we're just like a choir and we're preaching to ourselves, and that's actually something that I find scary sometimes when I find myself, and that's not the case right now, but sometimes I do find myself in a situation where everybody's just loving Bitcoin so much, and then it sounds like a mantra, and everything everything then just gets scary, like in church.
100%. And I think I said this before, probably when I come away from this type of setup, my my interaction with what I'm learning about the subjects I want to learn about when I go out in what I call the real world. I would say, and I've said it before, probably at least 96% of the people that I interact with on a daily basis have no fucking clue. And that's got to be a very good representation of probably society as a rule. So that tells me we're really, really early, and there's a long way to go. But it also tells me that we, as a society, and this me included, and I include myself in this, we have no fucking idea, and we don't control half the things that we think we should be controlling. And it's always been the case. It's always been the observation since I was a wee lad. And it just is what it is. But what we can do is just control what we do personally, and hopefully be around and build up a relationship with like-minded people. We've had people from America, Albania, Italy, the UK, and Australia on the podcast. I mean, that's brilliant. I'd rather know those, you know, going forward, if we all become, as we've spoken, like rich, whatever rich is to any of us. I know some people around the world now that maybe will share the same sort of philosophy as I do, and I've got friends I can talk to. So I love it. I absolutely love it, gents. I can't get enough of this. It's a beautiful building block as we go through the shit show, as me and Kem call it. So thank you. Jeff, do you want to say anything?
Cheers, fellas. Have a great night. My ultimate plan is to die penniless, surrounded by people who I poured my wealth into, who appreciate me. And I can't find it in consumer-driven societies. So I go to places most people don't want to go.
100%. I also want to say thank you to all the people in the live chat, and the members that turned up in the live chat, and yeah, really appreciate it. Can't wait until we do it the next time.
Thanks, Andy.
Absolutely no problem. Thank you, guys. You make it.